Now we see a memory from the past with Silpha, who tried to cut some straw that had been compressed to the maximum thanks to magic, although she could theoretically cut it. She was thinking about how to do it without her sword bending when applying all her strength. The mere fact that the straw ended up destroyed was just proof of how bad she was with the sword, and as a result, she couldn't use it in a real fight. After all, facing demons is no easy task, especially with a bent sword. Therefore, Silpha's only option was to improve through sheer effort. Back in the present, the second prince watched as his enemies burned, while in the distance, Crow seemed to recognize the servant with her back to him. Although he couldn't exactly remember where he had seen her before, Rin was glad they had come to save them, or almost, since the prince was only watching them as killers. For Silpha, it was an urgent matter to finish them off, as they had dared to forcibly take her beloved student. So now, they had only a minute to tell the truth, and for every lie, one of their heads would roll. When the assassins began to tell the truth, that Lloyd was in the castle fighting the demon of Babylon Castle, Silpha quickly remembered what they had promised in the past. During a meal, the prince had asked them not to mention anything about his strength or Grimm if they encountered anyone from the castle, as he didn't want to draw any attention because it would cause problems. With this in mind, they could only lie. And when Silpha counted exactly 1 minute, she knew she had to cut off a head. Rin quickly made up a lie, claiming that Prince Lloyd was fighting a loser and would soon come. This lie clearly didn't work, as Silpha was about to start by cutting off Rin's head. However, Albert stopped her. Of course, the entire guild of assassins began to mention how noble and dignified she was for showing such generosity. But Albert really wanted to start with the adults first and then the children. He was more than offended and showed one of Lloyd's intimate garments, not wanting to know why his little brother ended up without clothes in front of them, although this was a great misunderstanding. Galileo tried to explain that it was all due to those fluids, which didn't sound good and complicated things further. Rin now began to be more sincere, assuring that the prince was fighting for them. And although there was no reason to believe them, this was true. At that moment, a demon tried to take advantage of Rin's distraction to finish her off, but thanks to Alice's Fenrir, nothing happened. Besides saving the young girl, Alice assured that she wasn't lying and believed her words. If she had lied, her dear Leroux would have eaten her long ago. This finally calmed the prince, who now focused on the lower-ranking demons while Silpha was tasked with rescuing Lloyd. But before leaving, Rin knew she couldn't let her discover Lloyd, so she did everything possible to stop the servant. When she looked up at the sky, she saw a spell from Arya, which not only destroyed the bridge, but also caused some demons to swim to the shore to surround them. They had to retreat from a distance. We see that it was all thanks to Lloyd and Grimm, who fulfilled his enemy's wish. Although normally he wouldn't do something like that, he couldn't help but be interested in his young enemy. While talking, Grimm tried to impale the seemingly distracted Lloyd, who was actually more than alert to escape, and the fight resumed immediately. Grimm was more interested in Lloyd's strange sword. Outside the castle, we see the prince attacking the rest of the demons that tried to surround him with fire, now leaving Lloyd without more worries and ready to face the Demon King in total peace. However, fire alone was not enough to kill a low-ranking demon, and Albert knew this, so he had to think of a way to finish them off. Although his brother Dian used the most powerful attack of a magic sword, it didn't seem to affect them much, as they regenerated, and each sword attack only seemed to weaken their wielder's mana over time. It was clear that the longer they fought, the weaker their forces would become. Albert's new plan, which included his sister and Silpha, quickly fell apart when Silpha disappeared without reason. She was with Shiro, determined to find Prince Lloyd. The Guild of Assassins tried to reason with her, assuring her that even a jump at that distance was impossible. Silpha thought that maybe with a good rope they could reach the distance, while Shiro couldn't help but think of her master, wanting to see him so badly. She tried to jump to the other side of the bridge, but reality is cruel, and she failed. Unfortunately, this only motivated Silpha to be as loyal as Shiro and make the jump to get to the other side faster. However, out of nowhere, a demon attacked her, but she was able to dodge all the attacks with her inhuman reflexes. Seeing this incredible display of skill, the demon warned her to be careful, as all his companions were class 10 demons, but he was the only class 8 and was considered a demonic sword in the underworld. Although Silpha didn't fully understand this, She quickly deduced that demons had some sort of ranking system, making her wonder what rank Pusu had. Meanwhile, Albert continued to struggle with not being able to kill the demons' bodies, lamenting that the bodies they faced were actually those of the former citizens of Lordos. Saving them was the ideal goal. This caused the prince to get distracted and almost end up in trouble if not for Babylon, who killed the demon in a second, apologized for interrupting the fight, and introduced himself. Babylon admitted that Albert seemed to have similarities with his former leader and, for this reason, chose to fight alongside him. He understood well what it was like to have a demon steal a loved one's body. However, to their bad luck, Babylon informed them that they would never return. Albert took this advice to heart and was now more determined to use all the power of his sword. Thinking of the brave citizens of Lordos who were humiliated and robbed in their own home, at the very least, the prince wanted to give them a quick death with an infernal rain that filled the sky with a burning red, asking all his forces not to hold back from now on. This incredible attack left the prince somewhat exhausted, and he once again asked all his forces to avenge the noble citizens of the kingdom. Back with Silpha, she was fighting against the Class 8 demon, who was really good at attacking, making overhuman strikes. Yet Silpha could counter him and his rain of daggers, none of which touched her. Thanks to her skill, at one point, she had to use her ascending dragon wing to fight the demon, who still didn't fall. So it was time to use the wolf fawn of Langlease against the demon's celestial dog to see which attack was more powerful. From a distance, the assassins couldn't believe what they were seeing. Feeling the pressure even from there, at the end of both incredible attacks, Silpha was injured on her temple, as was the demon she faced, but he could regenerate, making him think he had won the fight by far. Now, having shown his strength, he began to mock that soon Silpha's body would be his. After all, once he had it, he could enter her brain and gain all her special abilities of the Langle house immediately, since with his best attack, the art of drawing, he would finish off the servant instantly. But for Silpha, who dodged it, this was very strange. The demon quickly explained that the body he stole was curiously from a swordsmanship school in Lordos, which was well known for its martial arts. Fortunately for him, this body was very talented, as his hand was full of calluses from so much training with the sword. This made the demon mock that all his effort ended up benefiting him. And although he also remembered that his finger had a wedding ring, he didn't hesitate to get rid of it since it was just a hindrance to his body. He did not underestimate the effort since the former user had lived a lot and faced many threats to become who he was now. In the end, all his effort was useful since it all served him. This only angered Galilea, who understood the extent of a demon's evil. To put an end to it, Silpha launched into the air to perform a demonic technique called Great Celestial Dog against the demon, who barely managed to free himself from it, only to be impressed that a simple human could perform such techniques. But Silpha admitted that she only copied it from him, then mocked that someone so pathetic and useless needed to steal bodies to be good at fighting. This began to unnerve the demon even more when he saw Silpha's wolf fawn again. Knowing he couldn't do anything against it, Shiro held a special weapon for the servant, who would soon let the demon know that no matter how many bodies he could steal, nothing compared to the level achieved by human ingenuity. This takes us back to Silpha's memory of practicing alone. But now continuing with the gift that Lloyd gave his servant along with his brother. After all, she helped him a lot with their work and they wanted to thank her properly. Although she assured that the sword had no flashy enchantment, she knew it only had to be strong and flexible since its bearer was more than enough to make it powerful. After all, when a demon exists, it always steals a body to fight, and they can significantly enhance their bodies. During the explanation, Silpha wanted to know how he knew she needed such a sword. A nervous Lloyd mentioned that she always seemed to hold back when fighting with her sword, making it seem like the legendary Langle house technique called Servant's Embrace. She attacked Lloyd directly since she never thought her master would have paid so much attention to her. But since a name was needed, Dien thought of calling it Leifa, a name that would have delighted Silpha, but she had a better one. To forgive herself for not saving her master last time, was named Demon Slayer. Hearing this name, the demon in front of her was slightly offended, as he believed he would soon end her life. He revealed that there was never a war in Lordos, as they only took the bodies from the area to generate rumors and attract Jade from the beginning, leading to his death. This made Youngren want to take immediate revenge, But Silpha hadn't finished with him yet, so she stopped Ren, as she could finally test her sword against a demon who, before even drawing it, was cut into 1,000 pieces by Silpha's tiger bite.